Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Jedi Knights Watch. My name is Graham, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Hot Toys 1/6 Dark Knight Tumbler. This is going to be a big vehicle. Before we get going though, I want to invite you to leave a like on this video. It helps the channel out a lot. We are a growing channel, and any support I can get is a big help, so I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed, I want to invite you to think about doing that. We have a lot of fun here. We do content, reviews, live streams, all that kind of stuff. So be a part of the watch and ring that bell so you don't miss any new content coming your way. All right. This is a big vehicle. This is something I've been wanting for a while. I have the '89 Batman. I've wanted to get the Tumbler because I think just having a select few vehicles in your collection really sets it apart. However, I understand that space and money, funds, it doesn't always line up into getting vehicles. So I understand getting a few Hot Toys as opposed to, one vehicle. And I know this has been out for some time now, but the reason that I was able to pull the trigger is because Sideshow had their Spooktacular sale, 13% off, plus I had some rewards, plus I think it was like $15 shipping. So on a box this big, $15 shipping is actually pretty good. That's cheaper than what it would cost to ship a Hot Toy. So I put all that stuff together and I'm like, I'm pulling the trigger, I'm doing it. I actually have it out behind me, you can see it right there. But before we get a look at the Tumbler itself, I want to take a look at the box because that's what we do here for reviews. So taking a look at the box, it comes in a nice big shipper. I actually have a 10% off coupon code here that is good till January, so I have to use that. I can't forget about that. But other than that, it's got the Dark Knight Trilogy on it, the branding. It's got a nice image of the Tumbler in a little black and white in the front as well. And once we open up the top of the shipper, we do get a nice look at the Tumbler. It's a nice insert, it's black and white, very nice portrait of the Tumbler itself. Really fine work there by Hot Toys. And then once we take that out, we get this nice styrofoam box with these awesome straps that hold it together, really high-end stuff. And we can just kind of undo that by the Velcro that it's attached by. And that's when we get our first look at the Tumbler itself. And this thing is bigger than I thought it would be, and it's got a lot more presence and depth than I thought it would have. Really quickly too, before we get the vehicle out here itself, the directions come in this nice thick, kind of like a matte board material. Again, a nice image of the Tumbler on the front. I like it a lot. We got some bats flying here, Gotham City in the background. We flip it over and then we have the instructions for putting this together, opening the Tumbler itself, putting a figure inside, kind of what everything does. This is very important, so I would definitely make sure that you do read this before getting your Tumbler out, because lots of fragile pieces, you don't want to break anything, plus it's hard to know what goes where without looking at the directions. Alright guys, and here we have the Tumbler in front of me. This thing is huge. This thing is black, but it's got some presence to it. It's got some bronze kind of color variations going on that really give this thing depth. It really shines off the light. It doesn't look flat, and like I was worried I'd have it on the shelf and it would just look like a big black blob. That's not the case. This thing looks awesome. The tires look great. But first, let's just start with how we put everything together, and I'll show you some screenshots here of how things go together. So we have 3 different fins on each side, and you can just see these things are very fragile. Be very careful when taking these out of the trays. They can snap very easy, especially the shocks here. You just take the fins and you peg them in on each side, and they go in pretty decently, but you do just, again, have to be careful. I had a hard time with getting the shock to peg in itself, but once you have them in, they do flip up and down. But again, even these like antenna pieces, very fragile. Be very careful. You don't want to be messing around with this thing too much. We have these flaps that go on each side here, and then on the back end we do have like the magnetic shocks that go onto the back by the engine as well. But this is just a really cool piece. Once you kind of dig into it, the tires look great. They're real rubber. They have like a paint dry brush going on the tread so that it kind of looks like they've been driven on. Looks a little bit worn. You have lots of brass going on in the front, just details hidden under kind of these armor plates. It is a really unique vehicle right here. I love the back wheels as well. Again, all rubber. Just a lot of, you know, even the silver and the bronze going into this thing look great. I love the matte finish as well. It's really cool. To open it is a little tricky. You do have to, again, read the directions because, again, it's a fragile piece. It's all plastic. There's no die cast. You know, even these windshield wipers are very fragile. But it just lifts up back here. And then we kind of like lift this up and then press it down so that it slides. But it's not the easiest thing to do. It took me a little bit. There we go. To get it, and then it kind of just slides down. Once you open it up, we do have like the computer in here. It just kind of slides up and down. We also have the kind of the controls for the driver. It kind of shifts forward and backward. You can get a figure in here. I haven't tried it. I don't like bending my Batman figures into that much of a dynamic pose, so I haven't done that. I don't want to break the figure. You know, you could have them standing inside, standing in front is kind of what I would do, but you know, there's not as much detail in here as I would say as the 89 Batman, but again, it looks pretty good. Again, it's a tank, you know, there's not much to it. The seats are plastic, but you can see all the controls and whatnot. The one thing that I don't like is when you close this. If you guys can hear my dog, I am so sorry. She just keeps sniffing and doesn't shut up. But the one thing I don't like when you close this is there is a slight gap here, and I believe it's normal because I've seen it on other ones, but this just doesn't seem to want to close all the way. So I'm not sure if it was like that in the movie. You just have a couple other gaps where it opens up as well, so it's just kind of weird. But other than that, looks pretty cool. It does have the red wheel locks in there as well, so this thing won't go rolling away from you. I think my favorite part though is probably going to be the back end. I love the engine, I love the tires, just the meaty tires on it. I love, you know, the paint application. There's like some fire treatment going on there, some flame treatment. It just looks really, really cool. You know, I think there's 10 LED lights on it, so you can put batteries in and this thing will light up. I actually haven't done that yet, but I'm not a big fan of also putting batteries into my figures or my vehicles, just because I don't want to risk corrosion and then them breaking or anything like that. You could wire this up as well with those kind of like those battery dummies and then just hardwire it into the wall, so that is something you could do too. Other than that, you know, I don't know what else there is to say, but the more you kind of like look around at this thing, it's kind of like the more you notice and the more you see. So it's definitely a treat. It's definitely more than I was expecting to get. You know, when I was saying, like, when I was thinking about getting, I was like, well, is it gonna have shelf presence? Is it gonna look really good? But again, the shapes of this thing, the way it kind of like flows, it's kind of like, you know, loaded from the rear. It is a really great vehicle at all angles, really. I actually prefer viewing it kind of from the back going front, just because I think the back end is really where this thing stands out and shines. But it's a unique piece, and right now, like on Sideshow, I'm sure there's going to be sales for Black Friday, for Christmas, so definitely use coupons to get this thing, because if you look, you take a look at like vehicles right now. You have the DeLorean, which has been out for a while, you know, and that's going for $1,500. Same thing with the 89 Batmobile, about $1,500. Even the new DeLorean that's coming out on Sideshow is going to be, I think, around $825, something like that. You know, you can get this for $650, but if you can get it on 10% even, you know, and then $15 shipping, you know, you're saving a lot of money. It's a really good piece. If you're thinking about getting this, I would urge you to really consider it before it does go out of stock, because then I think the price will shoot back up to around, you know, at least $1,000. So if you can get this for half of that, I think it's a steal. I think this has got a lot of shelf presence. It looks great. You can see it on my shelf right here, and just kind of what it adds to the display. So I'm really, really happy to have it. Hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully maybe this helps you if you're on the fence this holiday season. You know, if you have it already, let me know what you think. This is going to be the exact same size as the first Tumbler that they made. The only difference is that the cabin, or the cockpit, whatever you want to call it, is going to be bigger because it's made to fit the DX19. Outside of that, everything is the same scale. So even if you have the first one, or can find the first release for a good deal, that's a good option too. I know there's people out there selling them, so you know, just keep your eye out. But let me know what you guys think of this video in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the Tumbler. Are you thinking about getting it? What's your take on vehicles? I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.